I'm Pops, and I want to talk about Andor briefly. Briefly. Who am I kidding? I am so ridiculously long-winded these days. So yeah, but here, let's go. Let's go. We dropped 3 episodes, and I got through those, and I want to just knock this out real quick. I know that people are putting up content, so I don't watch other people's content until I get it done. So let's do this. It's one of those shows again that I don't quite understand the point whenever it's not a new addition to the lore, the canon. We know the character dies in Rogue One, so it's like this journey to get there. But I will say, after the 3 episodes, well, first off, let's face it, 3 episodes could easily have been cut down to 2. It's so slow and moves so tedious. And in times, I kind of liked it. And I will admit, I care more about Cassian Andor than I thought I would. But it's like, what? But why should I care, though? They're like, he's not going to be around. He doesn't really matter. I see the banner in the advertisement. We have Mon Mothma, and you have all these other characters. Forrest Whitaker character, I think, is here in the back. You have this Star Destroyer here in the foreground, this little spot right here. Hey, guess what? None of that is in these episodes. Like, I don't care about any of the other characters, including Stellan Skarsgård's character, which comes along in episode 3, which we kind of care about, but it happens like too little, too late for me to really. If I didn't have subtitles on, I'm not even sure I could tell you what some of the characters' names were. Because there are subtitles, I can at least plug things together. So let me get through it. It starts off really quickly, and there's a bar incident. He's out looking for his sister, and there's a couple of off-duty guards there, and I don't know. They think he's legitimately trying to be a customer, and they got out of line. So they start a little banter, and then on the way out, they kind of jump him and threaten him. And ultimately, the altercation involves him throwing one guy to the ground, but actually accidentally killing him. And then, of course, in order to not get caught or basically, get even more on the side of the Empire, basically just executes the other guy, just murders him. So our antagonist is immediately introduced as a murderer because, he isn't like, I don't know. Is it murder? Self-defense? Well, it doesn't really matter because when the inspectors are going to look at the case, because it quickly transitions into that, you find out that the one guy is like all about his politics and, they're going to be asking about how the crime is here. So just sweep it under the rug and make it go away. The guy defies all of that. And he's going to have this very comprehensive investigation to try to track Cassian down and then ultimately try to catch him. Juxtapose all of that to this flashback sequence to Kenari. Because Kenari is, I guess, the planet that they're from. It's a very primitive country, a planet. When they cut to the children, you can see this blockade runner type ship crashing. And it sets up, child, teen, preteen, like 10 to 12. Cassian leaving his sister behind to go with the tribe. He ultimately gets on the ship in a later episode, but all this sort of stuff happening. And then you have Cassian working through different people and different circumstances there on the planet and how to get off the planet before the Empire officials find him. And then the Kenari stuff where they're trying to investigate this ship that crashed. And that's pretty much the first episode is really pretty bland otherwise. Again, I can say it's a lot of humans in my Star Wars these days, not a lot of aliens, and definitely not a lot of things that are interesting. The world is practical, so I feel like it's very immersive, better conceived and developed than most of the other Disney Star Wars. And as we move along in through episode 2, and you kind of get this, the girl's name is Bix, and she has this boyfriend named Tim with 2 M's because, can't just be named Tim. It's got to be Tim with 2 M's because Tim, I don't know. There's this red droid, and there's this woman. Later, I pieced together the woman's name, but early on, we never know her name. And he's referring to characters by names that we don't know who they are. Yeah, that's how this all goes. Anyway, the boyfriend turns it all in, calls in the tip because the Empire, this inspector guy won't let it go. He probably thinks it's going to get him somewhere. And they figure out where he's going to be. So he brings in like this thug sergeant. And I imagined like a human version of the elf in like this prep and landing Disney show, like this, authoritarian, thuggy little guy with a chip on his shoulder. And he uses this like horrible language with how he thinks they should just oppress other people to get control. The Empire is just too lax. So Cassian he's a thief, and he had figured out a way to kind of sneak onto a ship. We'll get more to that, and get this like basically like a TIE fighter vest plate looking thing that kind of looks like they can track ships and figure things out and things like that. As you cut back and forth with things, and we get introduced to Stellan Skarsgård going there because Bix had contact. He's the buyer of this machine, device, whatever. And you have these wasted scenes where Cassian's bickering with the robot, and the Canary flashbacks with they're like these. First off, they're like a bunch of these good-looking kids that look like they're LARPing Native Americans is what it looked like to me. It was really, really not good to me. I didn't enjoy any of it. I felt like if we didn't move this along quicker, it's going to be like exactly what happened to me with CW's Arrow, like the flashbacks to the island on Arrow when the main character, Oliver Queen, was trapped on this island. It's a backstory of him training to becoming this great archer to become Green Arrow. Then we go back to the island repeatedly and for long stints, and I just got so sick of it. I'm like, I want to watch Green Arrow. I don't want to watch all this crap. And this is how I feel about this show. I want to watch Star Wars. I don't want to watch this Native American crap. Like, this is just silly. So it kind of goes along this way, and we just kind of keep moving. Sergeant L for Troll is actually called Mosk. His name is the Deputy Inspector Karn. I don't even know if that name had come up previously. I didn't know what any of these things are. Mosk is like this big motivator in the trenches kind of guy. Karn is a freaking soy boy, wussy kid. He's nervous. He's boring. And it's like watching like these college kids who they end up deciding to go in the military. So now they're officers. They have no idea what they're doing. That's what it felt like. And there's like this tedious banter, and Cassian's walking around, and I'm just like, oh gosh. And like I said, so much of 3 episodes could have been made into 2. The slow burn stuff, there's too much slowness. Because other than Cassian and Andor, like so much of this other stuff can just be trimmed down or trimmed away completely. Episode 3 finally gets it, where we're actually going to have something happen. And because we have subtitles, I can figure out what certain characters are, but in the end, none of it really matters because the Empire people show up and basically that's it. They kind of surround this area. They have a homing beacon somehow, some way, and they're figuring out where he is. And that's kind of what's happening. And the idea is how to figure out, how to do all of this stuff. There's like this mining area that's kind of where they are. So it's all staged around this warehouse. I will say the set for that warehouse was pretty cool. We'll get to that. Anyway, I figured out the old lady's name is Marva with 2 A's in the front. And I didn't know, but they said her name enough. And I figured out that's who she was talking about. The Imperials have her, and we're supposed to care about her, I guess. And the mob is there, and all these different things are happening. And at the end of the day, there's a couple cool set pieces and some tension, and there's this thing where they're banging on the metal to create even more like tension in the air and those kinds of things. And there's all this language that we're supposed to view as being very intense about the reckoning. Like, you're a bunch of nobodies who don't even have blasters. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to take down the 12th guy. Now, we're going to find a way to do, of course, because Cassian is the main character. And he gets to jump on the inspector at blaster point, figures out his solution when he's interacting with the fat sergeant guy. And by the way, fat sergeant guy actually drops like a cuss word. I hate this, Disney. I hate that they would use our English slang. Remember, galaxy far, far away and a long, long time ago, they wouldn't use our language and our slang like that. It's okay that we're going to use English, but curse words need to be made up curse words. That was better in the original. I hate all that. It's so cheap and bad. Lazy. So anyway, the flashback stuff was because they get on the ship. Cassian doesn't flee. when the one girl gets killed, he goes inside, and that's where Maeva and the black dude, don't know his name, don't care, save him because the Empire would be coming. And then you have this escape scene now with Cassian escaping and trying to win over Stellan Skarsgård character. I don't know his name, don't care. And they do a pretty good job of this, follow the speeder, set off an explosion, do whatever, and get away. But at the end of the day, it's just all very generic sci-fi, like Flash Gordon and Blade Runner stuff. Imagine like generic universes of all of that sci-fi. There's no Star Wars. Just like Rogue One and Solo, the show is going to be not interesting or really that big because you don't have Jedi, you don't have Force, you don't have a better concept of this struggle presented in any way, shape, or form. And the best you got is some dude who's going to end up on this planet that's going to die. And it's like, okay, I mean, I'm along for the ride. It's not the worst show they've done. It's definitely not even as bad as, well, it doesn't canon break so far like Kenobi did. It's not as irritatingly stupid like Boba Fett or anything like that. It doesn't move fast or have any self-contained elements like Mandalorian season 1 did. So I don't know where it lands. It's like, I guess it's just okay. Like, it's fine. I don't like people who want to try to make it a masterpiece after a couple episodes. I also don't want people, let's call it dog crap after a couple of, it is what it is. Let's see how it plays out. There are elements that work. There's inexperienced staff directing, and Tony Gilroy is not experienced. He's Mr. Bourne Identity. He did other stuff as well, but there's other inexperienced staff that will come into play. But the set designs and the costume and all, it was much more immersive than the other Disney stuff. So kudos to Disney Star Wars. You made something that was less crap than other stuff, but we don't know how good it is yet. It's just sort of like bland, drawn out setup. So that's kind of my take on it. Don't hate it, but I'm not going to like jump on some big, oh, it's so good and it's whatever kind of bandwagon. I'm not there with any of that. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I'm Pops. Thanks for watching. Throw your ideas out there, your comments. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know. I was really disappointed that we never had any allusion to the Empire writ large, whether, or Mon Mothma or the Coruscant people. We had nothing. It was very small in this little pocket. At least it wasn't desert and sand, though. Just saying. Had my fill of that. So I'm Pops. You can tell me what you think in the comments or whatever. And all the bells and whistles can be pressed and pushed if you want. So appreciate your time. Thank you so much.